Ah, there it is. Good morning, everyone. It's the notorious, glorious V, the Gorilla Economist, the Optimus Primate himself, coming with my main man, CJ, aka El Cuco, aka the Master of the Flux Capacitor. And we bring you the news, the views, and all the information important to you. Check us out, roguemoney.net. Follow us on Twitter at the Rogue Money. Rogue Money on Facebook, D2, Steam it, every single podcasting app known to humanity. We are there. We are there. We are everywhere you want us to be, plus a bag of chips. And folks, we got to check out our sponsors, RemainCalm.net. RemainCalm.net, whether you are getting sued and it's boo-hoo, before you freak out, remain calm. RemainCalm.net. Let these guys show you how to kick the debt collectors in the nuts. And also check out the cryptoschool.io, the cryptoschool.io. Learn how to trade. Learn how to trade cryptos with the Watchers Trade Room. Also, check out the video education series over at the Crypto School. And, folks, here's the deal. Also, check out Liquidbase, liquidbase.io, which is our liquidation platform, liquidbase.io. Check it out, on and on and on. Rock on to the break of dawn. It's liquidbase.io. Whether you got $5,000 or $5 billion worth of crypto, you want to liquidate it with total security, total privacy. Liquidbase is the place to go, not Coinbase. Liquidbase, baby. Check out our logo. It's Willie the Whale.
I like it. I
love that logo, man. Matt did that one. It's hot. I love it. I can picture that on a polo shirt, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? One of these days.
Read it. Yeah, absolutely.
And guys, the pre-orders for the Ape encrypted device has been stellar. It's been ridiculously awesome. By Tuesday, all of you will be getting responses. Everybody that has, we've been sifting through all the emails and stuff. If you're still interested in the Ape, brace yourself. That's going to be, you're going to get a response to your email, as well as the price. I think it's $279, which is slightly less than the price of a Nano Ledger, and it's a complete operating system. Plug and play, baby. It's pretty awesome. All right, so brace yourself for Tuesday on that one. And with that being said, El Cuco, what is crack-a-lacking?
Well, V, the first thing that we need to do before we jump into anything is we need to acknowledge that today's your birthday. So happy birthday, bro. Enjoy your day. Thank you for coming on the air today, all that kind of great stuff. But happy birthday, man.
Thanks, brother, man. Thank you. I'm looking forward to just relaxing and doing nothing. Maybe catch a dinner and a movie later in the day, and I'm just gonna play video games all day. I'm gonna shut the phone off. I'm gonna relax.
That sounds fun.
Watch movies and play video games all day and eat whatever the heck I want to eat, bro. That's what I'm gonna do.
That's what birthday's about. What better birthday could you have, V?
That's that's all you want, bro. You just Jesus Christ. You know how it is. We're always like working. We're always doing things, or it's good to just shut everything off and just slow down.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good for you,
man. Hell yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, brother. What's new? What's good? How was Freedom Fest, by the way, man?
Freedom Fest was spectacular. I highly recommend it for anyone that hasn't been to go at least check it out once. But just everything from the amazing group of speakers to the panelists, Mark Scows and his wife Joanne do an absolute fabulous job of putting a great theme show together about freedom, about liberty. There's tons of solutions based there. So not only from their special events, but also from the access that is provided through the trade room floor, just the amount of people that were there, great networking events. So, if you want to go listen to some of the panels, you want to go listen to some of the debates, just free-minded individuals coming together. And it wasn't one of those that we're going to force this down you because we think is the right thing. There was robust debates about things. There was solutions based. And I think that's what I like about it so much. So again, if you have not been, I know that I went to their website today. They already have 2019's event scheduled and ready to go. Wow. And I had a great opportunity to network with a lot of people, conduct interviews, meet new and interesting people that I plan on following up to get scheduled for interviews. Had the opportunity to meet with a lot of individuals that we've interviewed, being able to sit down with them and have chats with them and engage, and then also learn about some of the new solutions that are being created there. And so they're actual floor that you could walk and meet with the different vendors. Lots of great things, and it's a 3-day event. So go check it out if you get an idea. And I'm going to be writing up a follow-up article. Also, I do want to thank one of our previous guests that we've had on Rogue 420 was Fos, which they designed special growing lights. Ben Arnett and Brett Stevens, CEO, and then also the president. I had the opportunity to go and to tour their state-of-the-art indoor medical grow, and it is just blew my mind what they're doing. Everything from the genetics of cannabis, and they're growing, and they have scientists in there, creating certain strains. But those guys are knocking out of the park. So I was thankful for them. They picked me up and everything, took me to their facility. So yeah, so it was an awesome time. But yeah, so get out there and check it out.
That's epic, man. That is awesome. That's freaking awesome, dude. Wow.
Yeah, and then also met a couple of fans. It was great. We had a media room where we could conduct our interviews, and as people were coming in and out, and people were listening to some of the interviews, they could stand there and listen to it as we were doing them live. And a couple of fans came up and they're like, "Hey, we listen to you and V every morning. Thank you so much. I love you guys." CJ, got to be honest with you, I thought you were some 23-year-old skinny white dude.
No.
I said surprise. And for those listeners that have left comments on those the videos, I appreciate everyone being gentle and being nice and everything. So yeah, so it was a great time, and I'm very excited about the direction of things that we're doing with Rogue. I know our not only our contributors have been working very hard, throwing up great articles on roguemoney.net. So go check that out. And in the background, Rogue News is being built out quite a bit, and I know a lot of people have been asking about that. So stay tuned. Keep it dialed in right here. Rogue is on the cutting edge of all those things. And it's, as we're mapping out the rest of this year, be heading into 2019, there's no better place to be than associated with Rogue and all the solutions that we're creating.
Absolutely correct, man. Absolutely correct. Oh, dude, it's Amazon Prime Day today.
Oh, it is? There you go.
Dude, today, 3 o'clock Eastern. It's Prime Day, folks. That's going to be awesome.
There you go.
Good time to do some shopping. Anywho, what do you want to get into here, man? We got some pretty cool stuff.
Well, I think we really need to jump into the Vladimir Putin and the Trump meeting today. I mean, I've been kind of following it a little bit, and it's just amazing how much the media just nitpicks like certain part, like Putin was over an hour late, and that's his sign of strength, and that he's leading the conversation.
Yeah, because liberals have an idea what strength is. Liberals wouldn't know what strength is if it snuck up behind them and gave them a wedgie.
True.
Yeah, they're talking about strength. It's hilarious, man.
Yeah, but Trump did the right thing. He stayed in his hotel wherever he is and waited for Putin to arrive before departing there. So he's playing his cards up. But boy, I tell you what, V, wouldn't it be interesting to be able to cover that? And they had like an in-depth 45-minute. I believe they're running like 2 hours behind on. They had one little small presser. It was just kind of a teaser, but then they're supposed to be opening it up for Q&A. But my gosh, there's so much robust to dialogue that's going to happen there. And of course, the FBI, the deep state, tried throwing a whole monkey wrench into the thing with this whole 13 to 14 Russians that have been found guilty and all this kind of stuff. We know, our Rogue fans know, that that's just absolute BS. This meeting that's wanting to take place, they're purposely wanting to kind of, to throw up every obstacle possible, and hopefully everyone sees that.
I think everybody does. And Rod Rosenstein, right now as we speak, there are articles of impeachment that's being drafted against the guy. So I'm happy to hear that happen. You know what I'm saying? So, Rosenstein understands what he's facing. He's going to actually, maybe he doesn't understand. Maybe these guys are so drunk on the hubris, brother, that they don't even get it. They don't get it one bit. And we're about to see something really significant here happen, where you're gonna have a deep state that's gonna be impeached soon, probably this week, probably this coming week, man. We'll see what happens. But the whole we have 12 Russian blah 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 indicted. Who the hell cares? Nobody believes this narrative anymore. Everybody knows it's a witch hunt. Mueller has no credibility. It's absolutely ridiculous, brother. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and I tell you what's amazing, when that was announced, I was really expecting to go to Twitter, go to social media, and just see like an implosion, right? I was really expecting to see that because I have several friends with different backgrounds that are Democrats and liberals and all that, and progressives, and that's their right to do that, obviously. And like I didn't see like any type of like major explosions where people are like where it's like dominating the trend. So I don't know whether the algorithms have been changed on social media where they're understanding that they better start playing a little bit better fair balance. But typically a story like this would be like, with the Rosenstein with coming out saying, hey, these Russians were found guilty and everything. That would be like at the top of every banner and the top of every link. And I don't think people are buying it anymore. I think people are finally waking up to, oh my God, what in the world is going on? I wish it would come out with a new trust survey with the lamestream media, because I guarantee, what was it, 6% before? It's probably like 1% now.
Oh my God! Trump has single-handedly destroyed the mainstream media apparatus. Single-handedly destroyed them, and rightfully so, because this was the Mockingbird operation. These guys were not in the business of informing; they're in the business of disinformation. They're in the business of brainwashing. So it is quite glad to see them lose massive credibility, the credibility which we've never seen. They're obsolete, CJ. They're completely obsolete. It's and there's nothing they can do about it. They're completely worthless.
Yeah. So here's what you can expect tonight. You'll expect to see that, why didn't Trump spend all day, asking Putin why he interfered in the election. That's all you're going to see from the latest media. They're going to just keep hammering that over and over. That why didn't he spend the whole 4 hours talking about one subject when we know, our fans know, that there's so many other things that specifically need to be talked about. We've got Syria, we've got Iran, we have the Ukraine, which is really our fault to begin with. Not Putin's. I mean, just so much to talk. The bilateral talks with trade, with the economics, folks. Those are the important things that matter here. Okay, it's not that we're trying to provide cover that Hillary was a failed candidate, 2 or 3 times now by these supposed Russian people that interfered. No one is buying that crap. So hopefully they can get to some of these really, issues that matter the most, and more importantly, come away with, with building a great relationship and establishing some of the things that we can accomplish. That's what they fear the most, is a U.S. Russia walking step in step with China, building these great negotiations. That's what the deep staters fear the most, V.
That's what they don't want. They don't want a close cooperation between the United States and Russia. That is something they fear. The globalists have always tried to pit us apart. And can you imagine Russia and the United States working together for world peace? Oh my God, it would be a beautiful, beautiful thing, man. I mean, we'd be able to fix a lot of things in this world. We'll be able to get rid of a lot of the trash that's in this world. It'll be truly remarkable, to say the least, my man. So let's see what happens, man. It's a closed door meeting. There's no media allowed. I think it's going to be very productive. I think a lot of things are going to get done, and I think you're going to see the groundwork. I'm talking about major historical shifts are about to take place, and these types of shifts are not done with cameras and reporters like that idiot Jim Acosta from CNN asking. He was getting punked in the EU, in the UK. Trump was punking him. It's not done by idiots like that. It's done in private. It's done in meetings like this, where the course and events of history are going to be really shaped and really put forward, man, because it's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out. We're going to see some changes occur in the entire United States foreign policy. We're going to possibly even see, I think Trump is ready to spring the trap on Mueller, the investigation, the entire Ron Rosenstein nonsense. This move that Rosenstein was doing with the whole 12 indictments, this was expected. It didn't catch Trump or the administration by surprise. They knew this cheap shot was going in to this Helsinki meeting. I think right now the gloves are off, and the gloves have been off for quite some time with Donald Trump and the administration. I think we're going to see some significant news coming down this next several days, folks. I think we're going to see some indictments by the good guys on the bad guys. We're going to see Rod Rosenstein gone. We're going to see Mueller gone. We're going to see the wrapping up this Mueller investigation very soon. It's going to come to naught. And let's see. let's just see who else falls. Let's just see who else comes down on this, because this is going to be huge. I can't quite put my finger on it, but my gorilla senses are tingling. CJ, they are tingling.
Yeah, they'll probably put out a few talking points or even concessions on a few things, but I don't think we'll understand the full negotiations of everything took place. What I do like is that they are not going to allow the media to control the narrative that comes out of this meeting. Apparently tonight, Trump will be going live, I believe, for an over hour discussion, and I can't remember the exact news of it. People will easily be able to find it; it'll be everywhere. And then tomorrow, Vladimir Putin is doing the same thing. So, and I think that's a very smart move, is to not let the media dictate what gets put out as far as this meeting be.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely right, man. Absolutely right. Anyway, meanwhile, Siege, the lines are being drawn. We're going to see how this plays into as well, because Russia just they're planning a $50 billion investment in Iran's oil and gas industry. This is from Sevastana Paraskova over at oilprice.com. Brought to you by our buddies over at Zero Hedge. Russia is getting ready to invest $50 billion in Iran's oil and gas industry as the two countries continue to see closer ties, just as the United States is looking to cut as much Iranian crude exports from the market as possible. Russia is ready to invest $50 billion in Iran's oil and gas sectors, according to Ali Akbar Vitiali, senior advisor for international affairs of the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic, as carried by the Financial Times. Vitiali was on a visit to Moscow that included a meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Military and technical cooperation with Russia is of major importance to Iran, FT quoted Vitiali saying. The discussion focused on Russian-Iran cooperation issues as well as the situation in the region, including developments in Syria. The parties reaffirmed their commitments to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action on Iran's nuclear deal, the JCPOA. The Kremlin said in a brief statement on the meeting on Thursday, and according to the Iranian official, the Russian oil company has signed an agreement with Iran worth $4 billion, and that deal will be implemented soon. Russian energy giants Rosneft and Gazprom have also started talks with oil ministry of Iran to potentially sign deals worth up to $10 billion, the Iranian advisor says. While Russian government officials confirmed to FT Russia's $50 billion investment plans. So there are investment plans and there are investments that are going into play as we speak. Let's see what becomes of it. You ever notice this, Siege?
What's heavy?
There's a lot of investment that has, come into Iran in the last 2 years, 3 years or so because of the JCPOA. And, for the first time, Iran is plugged into the global economy, so to speak. And yet, it's funny to see that there's these so-called protests that are occurring. There's a lot of crap happening, man. There's a lot of deep state activities here. And granted, the Islamic rule is not a good thing for a country to prosper. You got to get rid of this theocracy nonsense. When you look at, there's so many layers in this Iranian deal. You got Russia that's about to sign a $50 billion deal. You have the Trump-Putin meeting. Iran has these so-called protests, which are basically fomented from outside actors. A lot of things going on, a lot of things at play. Let's see what becomes of them all, man. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this plays out, Siege.
Yeah, there's so many major. Where do you begin with these negotiations? And I think in part it will directly tie to Syria, with the United States asking to that if Iran could be removed from that equation. If you haven't listened to it yet, Harley broke down a lot of the talking points. We had a little bit of issue with connections. Long story short, we ended up recording. But it did get released on Saturday. So if you haven't listened to it yet, go listen to that because he has some really great talking points and strategy specifics. So listen to that on our YouTube channel.
Absolutely. CJ, our buddy Charles Hugh Smith, he's got a great article out. Our institutions are failing. What is this all about?
This is just truly amazing. This kind of really sums up so much of the discussions that we have often, and that's in part directly from our institutions are failing. The mainstream media and its well-paid army of authorities and pundits would have us believe that the decline in our collective trust in our institution is the result of fake news, false narratives that data presented as factual. If we could only rid ourselves of fake news, all would be well, as our institutions are working just fine. And in bold print, he goes on to state that the mainstream narrative itself is false. Our institutions are failing, and the cause isn't fake news or Russian hacking. The cause is insider plundering and a decline in transparency and accountability. Correct. And the institutionalization. What's it? Say that word for me, B. Institutionalization. Thank you. My gosh, I couldn't get it out.
It's okay, dude. It's still. See, it's Monday, man. I'm low energy Jeb on Mondays. People are like, why is V so quiet? Why is he so mild on Monday? What's Monday? What do you expect? I don't get going until Tuesday. That's when I really start working. Yeah.
So Charles basically goes on to state that when you take a look at the incompetence that occurs, whether it's schools, whether it's big pharma, just so much of what is wrong, it ties back to the federal government and the lack of it. And the truth of the matter is that those institutions are completely failing us time and time again. I mean, how often do we see it have to?
This is a beautiful article.
It is beautiful. I mean, take a look at the FBI, for example. Look at that institution and their failure. Look at the CIA. Look at the important information that just was released yesterday regarding the Health and Human Services and the fact that they were tasked with confirming vaccine research, vaccine safety, and as a result of a major lawsuit that occurred, that they did not release any information. It was discovered that in the past 30 some odd years, that there's absolutely no data that once the vaccine manufacturers were given immunity from product liability, in other words, they can produce all they want as far as vaccines, that particular legislation mandated that the Health and Human Services would do their part to validate the safety of vaccines. So the past 30 odd years, there's been no data, no research, and now that's came out crystal clear in a lawsuit. And just want to thank, I'll bring up the article in a second, but the independent journalists that shared all this, Del Bigtrees also covered it. But that's pretty eye-opening, B.
Dude, it's an amazing thing. This is what Charles and I, every time we're on together, we always talk about. This is the run to failure mentality of all these bureaucracies. And something I've been saying for forever is that once a bureaucracy is created, its only mission is to exist. It doesn't care about anything else. And I love what he says here. It's like the institutionalization of incompetence. There's nothing better. I mean, look. This is what I want to hammer home here. This is what Charles is saying. The same can be said for every other cartel plundering the nation. I told you, we're a nation that's run by cartels, right? Look at any industry you want. Look at the cell phone industry. It's a cartel of 3 or 4, all within $1 or $2 of each other, right? They got the gentleman's price fix going on. Look at your media companies. There's like 4 or 5. They're all within the same, right? Same parameters of entertainment, same type of information being dispensed, right? It's a gentleman's agreement. Look at what's going on with healthcare. 3 or 4 healthcare companies, right? Or 5 or 6 healthcare companies. It's always a handful that you can count on one hand. Every industry has anywhere between 3 to 5 major corporations that rig and price fix everything. Look at your food. I mean, you go into a supermarket, right? Most people are shocked. They think that there's thousands and thousands of brands. No, those thousands of brands are owned by like 3 to 4 different food companies that own those thousands of brands that you walk into a supermarket with. There is no choice. It's the illusion of choice. That's the cartelism. I mean, healthcare. I love what Charles says. Healthcare, i.e., sick care, because the profits swell. Right? There's no health care. Get rid of it. It's a euphemism. It's a euphemism. You're the product, folks. You're the product. You are being sold. You are being marketed, right? You are the one that is being made merchandise of. And it's pretty funny that I think it was one of the apostles of Christ, and I believe it was Peter that said this, that in the last days they will make merchandise of you. I always wonder what that is. When you look at it from the time you're born, which is the issuance of your birth certificate, You are a commodity, my friend. You are a commodity. You are the merchandise, right? You, from the time you are born, whether you are healthy, whether you are sick, whether you are dying, whether you are dead, you are being merchandise. They are making merchandise of you. Managing chronic, let's be honest, your profits for all these healthcare, let's call them sick care companies or death care companies, they swell from managing chronic illness, not from advancing health. Charles hit it on the head. Big pharma company, the military incompetent complex, banking, student loans, governing lobby cartels, the war on drugs, gulag, the prison industrial complex, the FBI. It's just ridiculous. The budgets never decline, right? Because as soon as they get in, what do you think the FBI has been caught so many times creating false terrorism? How many times have FBI been caught giving the bombs to the terrorists, telling them where to park the van, put it next to this column, and then and then in the last second, right before the guy's about to hit the switch and blow the building sky high, here comes the FBI agents. Freaky Boys International shows up and saves the day. Oh yeah, wow! And then the mainstream media, who's on the take, the mainstream media is out there saying, "Oh wow, look at this heroic actions by the FBI." And the FBI morons did this. Why? So down all of a sudden, boom. Oh, the FBI saved it. It was an anti-terrorism thing. Okay, here's another $5 billion to your budget. It's constantly on the take. The budgets never decline, they only expand. The system's organized to punish frugality. It's to reward incompetence, sweetheart contracts, overtime, and even higher public spending. Charles nails it on this. And it reminds me of what my buddy years ago, back in 2016, said. Okay, his name is Mr. Z. And Mr. Z is somebody, if you're listening to Z, thank you for all your service. Mr. Z is somebody who's out there. I never fully got his full name, but he was somebody, okay, who literally went out there and saved this country at least 30 to 40 different times. Okay, that's the level of person he is, and the industries that he worked in. And I'll leave it at that. But one of the things he said, and this is the term that he coined, he said, V, everything in this country, every single apparatus, every single system right now in this nation is run to failure. It is run to failure. This is a bureaucracy, governmentally, from the foundation to the topmost stone, that must be overheated and killed. The faster government collapses, the better off you and I and all of us will be. The faster there's an economic crisis that causes the destruction of the federal government, the better off that we will all be, because it is a bloated bureaucratic mess. If our founding fathers were here today, they will be storming the hills. They'll be storming Capitol Hill right now and lynching these bastards from lampposts. Okay, that's the whole entire thing. Think of it. Calls to trim waste are met by gestures of powerlessness. Rising costs and institutional failures are presented as the equivalent of gravity. We can't change the system; it's unstoppable. We have to make adjustments, because here's another thing: bureaucracies will tell you that somehow, CJ, miraculously, the bureaucratic budget becomes like inflation, right? Well, right. There's rising costs. We got to keep up with the rising costs. What are you talking about? How about you cut 10,000 people off your payroll? How about you lay off 50,000 people? How about those people who have been sucking off the teeth, who are making overtime $300,000 a year like they're a freaking doctor? They go away. How about that? Huh? The general public has largely lost experience of public sector and institutional incompetence and accountability. Why? Because the general public is too busy. Folks, do you realize this? Because of the bloated government budget, you're too busy working like a dog to feed these a-holes. Do you realize that? Their budgets are so big that the government deficit, we got to keep the government functioning. So go out there, middle-class whipping boy. Go out there, middle-class whipping boy. Go out there and squeeze blood from a stone. Squeeze blood from a stone, you middle-class whipping boy. Go ahead. Because why? Because the federal government needs you to do it. And while you're at it, send your wife out there. Yeah, she's got 3 kids to take care of. Yeah, it's a lot of stress on her running a household. No, she's got to go get a job. She's got to put her kids in daycare, which makes no sense because it cost them whatever benefit she had of getting a job has been taken away with this whole entire healthcare nonsense, right? So go out there, middle-class whipping boy. Go out there and get it done. And while you're at it, send your kids to work. Let them go out. Yeah, in fact, tell your dog to go out and get a W-2 as well. Now the whole family's working. Why? To maintain this monolith. to maintain this colossus, to maintain this monolith of monetary black hole that is called governmental budgets. It's disgusting. Folks, this is the biggest problem. Do you realize we have a jacked up foreign policy because of this nonsense? You realize we have a jacked up banking sector? We have jacked where the regulators are walking in lockstep. They're walking literally in lockstep with the very criminals who are doing the financial crimes because of this. They're all in on the take. You know, people want to talk about governmental corruption of other countries. Folks, there's more massive governmental corruption here in this country than any other country in the world. Any other country in the world. See, I appreciate a dictatorship, CJ. You know why?
It's transparent. It's honest.
It's transparent. You know who the head honcho is. You know who the boss is calling the shots. You know who the jerk is. You know who the head a-hole is. You know him. He's out there. He's flaunting it. You know? But this thing, this thing, there are hundreds of dictators that work in here. They're all hidden. They're all hiding under various bureaucratic red tape and various pensions that keep them very, protected. Very protected. And I love this last paragraph that Charles Hugh Smith has wrote. And I think you all need to take this home and think this through. Think about this, right? And he's absolutely correct. When you study the history of the Roman Empire, this is exactly what happened. Charles writes, our institutional failures reminds me of the phantom legions of Rome's final days. Legions existed in the bureaucracy, and payrolls were sent to the paymasters. But the legions were merely fiction. They were mere fiction. There were no soldiers and no fighting force. There were only a few insiders skimming their take, confident that accountability and transparency has been irreparably lost. That's exactly where we are. There are no legions. There is no need to keep expanding the budget. But the budget keeps expanding because the accountability and the transparency that we have in every single one of these bureaucracies has been irreparably lost. Lost. Can't find it. So much red tape. And this is what's going on, folks. This is what's going on. And that's what I got to say, Siege.
Yeah, Charles nails it. Yeah, absolutely.
Killed it.
Yep.
Killed it.
Absolutely.
Read that article, folks. Of2minds.com. Read that article. That's the problem. That's what we're fighting here. That's what we're fighting here. Anything else you want to cover, Siege?
No, just real quick. I finally found this article to bring up, and again, this has been covered quite a bit, but we want to draw more attention to it, and that's the fact that breaking U.S. Health and Human Services can't find 32 years of vaccine safety research.
Ooh, I wonder why.
In 1986, the National Child Vaccine Injury Act stated that the process to fully absolve pharmaceutical companies from liability for the injuries and deaths their vaccine products cause. In addition, the 1986 Act also removed the normal market forces and legal repercussions which would exist to ensure safer vaccine products. So now fast forward past 1986, and as a result of Freedom of Information Act by Mr. Kennedy, who's been specifically involved with the World Mercury Project and exposing these things, they filed paperwork to request under the Freedom of Information Act the information pertaining to this specific research. They did not receive any of the information. They were forced to file a lawsuit to the Department of Health and Human Resources to say, hey, we're suing you. We need this information. And the information that came back, and it says that the department searches for records did not locate any records responsive to your request. The Department of Health and Human Services conducted a thorough search of its documents tracking system. The department also conducted a comprehensive review of all relevant indexes. Long story short, V, there's no data. There's no data.
It's a perfect tie-in. There's no data. Can't find it. It mysteriously vanished into thin air. Cannot find it. Nothing here, folks. Move along.
Yeah, so if you get a chance, go. I haven't listened to the entire thing, but Kennedy's Robert F. Kennedy is on with Dell on the Highwire program discussing it. Pretty eye opening again, and it just ties directly to, Charles' article that all these institutions, name one, IRS, Homeland Security, FBI, name one. Why do we need a federal government that's that bloated that takes our hardworking money,
right,
and just uses it for their further expansion? It's just completely absurd. It's time for us as Americans to wake up to realize that the answer isn't more government at all. It's
exactly
time. That whole
Folks,
message. Good, be.
Dude, I mean, CJ, it's like this, okay? If you got to get into your head, the government's only job, the only function they should be doing is providing park benches, period. That's it. Provide park benches. They shouldn't do nothing else, man. Shouldn't be doing nothing else. And civil defense. That's it. Nothing more. It's crazy, bro.
Yeah, it is. It's truly crazy. But let's trust these institutions, V. Let's trust these things because they're watching out for our well-being, V, and we really know that they are.
Yeah. They're such loving, such loving people. They really are. They care about us, man. They care about us. Anyhow. All right, folks. The rest of the day is pretty much nothing because I'll be relaxing and maxing and relaxing, chilling all day, doing nothing, and I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna love it.
And again, just make sure if you have not done so, that go to roguemoney.net. Ken Shortgun Jr., James, Russian analyst, Bankster Slayer, threw up 3 articles overnight last night. Good stuff to go check out.
Yep, absolutely. With that being said, folks, we are over and out. Take it away, El Coco.